Welcome back to the High Limit Room. This week on the show, we will be talking about NARC, we'll be talking about USAC, and we will also be talking to co-owner of High Limit Racing and full-time series driver, Brad Sweet. All right, welcome back to the High Limit Room. I am Chase Rodman. Later on in the program, we will be talking to Brad Sweet along with Tony Laporta. Before we get into that, we did want to recap some of the racing that happened on FloRacing this weekend, including a pretty wild night over at the Silver Dollar Speedway in Chico, California for race number 2 of 2025 with the NARC King of the West Sprint Cars. On Friday night, not a crazy race by any means, but on Saturday is when really things started to heat up. On the final lap, we saw an incredible battle between Justin Sanders in the 2X and Tanner Holmes in the Tarleton Racing number 21. They go into the final set of corners, side by side. Holmes slides with the racetrack, gets into a lap car, and Sanders able to sneak by on the bottom to take the win, which would be his second win in a row. He won on Friday night as well. So after getting off to a pretty slow start this year in the 410, Justin Sanders bags a $10,000 win with King of the West NARC over there at the Silver Dollar Speedway. As we mentioned, Tanner Holmes ended up in second. Behind him, it was Caleb Montgomery, DJ Netto, and Tyler Thompson ends up in fifth. And that's a guy I think you should watch for this year. Tyler Thompson in that Kyle Main Motorsports 35 KM showed a lot of speed at the end of 2024, and a fifth place run at the Silver Dollar Speedway during the Mini Gold Cup as another strong run for that Oregon driver. Now, after 2 races, we did want to talk about the points as well for NARC, because NARC after dark, man, things can change in a hurry over there. But DJ Netto currently leads the points after 2 races. He is followed by Caleb Montgomery, Shane Golobic, Sean Becker, and the 83 of Tanner Carrick. So a quick recap from NARC. They race again here over the next couple of weeks at a bunch of different racetracks out there on the West Coast. The other racing that took place this weekend when it comes to dirt on FloRacing was a triple header in the state of Indiana for the USAC Sprint Cars and the USAC Silver Crown Cars. So after quite a week, quite a ways and quite a long time off, the USAC Sprint Cars do come back to life. On Friday night, they were at the Lincoln Park Speedway in Putnamville, Indiana, where Kyle Cummins in the number 3 car was able to get the win on a pretty rough and hooked up LPS. That was a good race to watch, and Kyle Cummins looks as good as ever, able to pick up the win there. And then on Saturday, they made their way over to the battleground at Lawrenceburg Speedway, where Justin Grant was able to get the win there in the Top Motorsports number 4. Grant has been spectacular at Lawrenceburg in his career, and that just continued there as he was able to pick up the win with the USAC National Sprint Cars in Lawrenceburg, Indiana. Then on Sunday, they finished things off with the Silver Crown Series during the Sumar Classic, and boy, oh boy, was this race absolutely excellent. We do want to give a shout out to our good friend Blade Kearns, who was the track prep guru over there and gave the Silver Crown cars one of maybe the best tracks they've ever seen at the action track over there. The winner in the end was Logan Seavey, but he did not lead the whole way by any means. High Limit Racing full-timer and Rookie of the Year contender Dason Persley led the first half of the race until the cushion bit him in turn number 4. He spins around and goes to the tail. He would not see the top spot again in this main event. Also did want to give a shout out to the guy that we know as a late model driver, but he is not afraid to drive anything, and that is, of course, Ricky Thornton Jr. RTJ jumped behind the wheel of an Avanti Windows and Doors Silver Crown car. At one point in time was running inside the top 10, but with a couple laps ago, he did suffer a flat tire, and he would end up in the 12th position, but still a really solid outing, and you got to give up to the guy. I mean, a guy that runs late models jumps in a Silver Crown car at a sketchy place like Terre Haute and was able to have a really solid run. But once again, I mean, the hats are off to the Terre Haute Action Track prep crew, because it was up on the fence. That is not, in my opinion, that is not how Silver Crown cars are meant to race, but boy, oh boy, was it fun to watch. And Logan Seavey was able to get the win over Justin Grant, Brady Bacon, Briggs Danner, and CJ Leary. The race behind Seavey was pretty hot and heavy. A lot of sliders going on between Grant, Bacon, and Danner as well. And those guys, it was a showcase showdown over at the Terre Haute Action Track. That's back-to-back Sumar Classics for Logan Seavey. Now, that's all the racing that happened on FloRacing this weekend. Let's now jump into an interview with High Limit Racing co-owner and this current series point leader. That, of course, is Brad Sweet. All right, so here we are now with the former co-host of the High Limit Room, Brad Sweet, also the new co-host, Tony Laporta, for our little interview section during today's show. Brad, thanks for coming on the show. We know you're a busy guy right now, but we've got a couple questions for you to ask. The first one I wanted to start off with, a pretty busy weekend this weekend at Silver Dollar Speedway. Ended out with a really, really good feature over there between Justin Sanders and Tanner Holmes. The strength of sprint car racing in California is obviously very, very strong, but you got a first-hand taste of it this weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a great event at Silver Dollar. Enjoy, if we do get some off weekends, I really enjoyed, the process of what takes place to put on an event at Silver Dollar. So I was able to help with the track prep. We kind of missed it the first night and had it kind of, a little bit rough and heavy, old school Chico. And the next night we had the track pretty nice, and the A-main was really good. It came down to a last lap battle with Justin Sanders and Tanner Holmes, which obviously the crowd loves Tanner Holmes and for whatever reason hates Justin Sanders. So it was fun to have the crowd so into it, and great finish and very rewarding for the hard work that everybody puts in at Silver Dollar. So just kind of a good weekend overall. A lot of momentum at Silver Dollar. Crowd was great. Racing was great. So yeah, I really enjoyed the weekend for sure.
And one thing I did want to add real quick before Tony jumps in here, I got you on Snapchat, and I've seen a lot of Snapchats here recently of the new suites going in. It looks like on the backstretch. Is that right? You guys are making some huge improvements over there.
Yeah, Silver Dollar is definitely going through a revamp, which is awesome. It was definitely the premier facility on the West Coast for all the years that I was growing up. So it's really cool that we're able to kind of go in there, put suites up, some more seating up, all new lighting's going to go up, Musco lighting. And, it's going to have, that feel of a premier facility again, hopefully in the next couple of years as we keep, making these additions. And, it's really cool that, Kyle, myself, Colby, our wives, we're all kind of doing this with a big group family effort. And, it's really rewarding that we're able to kind of, lift that facility up, build the events back up, and the fans are really supporting us.
Well, Brad, I got to say I'm pretty jealous and honestly hurt that I'm not friends with you on Snapchat like Chase Rodman is. I don't know. I'll probably delete my app. I'll probably throw my phone in the trash now because I'm not getting updates like that. So it's unfortunate. But hey, you talk about all the work you put into Chico. And before we get into this season with High Limit, Dirt Season 2, A Year with High Limit, came out, and one of the episodes kind of cataloged all the work you put into Chico and then just your kind of journey. So I want to get your thoughts and your opinions on what you thought of Dirt Season 2. We all got to enjoy that premiere in Vegas at the theater, but the fifth and final episode's out. So I don't know. I'm just interested for a production like that to showcase sprint car racing and make it feel even bigger than it already is. What do you think of the mini docuseries Dirt Season 2?
Yeah, I think it's really cool for fans to see, behind the scenes and maybe drivers' personalities outside of the race car. I think that's something that sports always lacked a little bit is that connection with the fans, outside of the race car, and to show them kind of, our family life, our home life, our work life, who we really are and what we're all about. And having cameras follow you is always difficult, but, Flo's done a great job of, kind of taking all the footage and showing the fans kind of all the different personalities in high limit racing. So yeah, I think it's really cool. I think, obviously, our episode was good. I think all the episodes that I've seen have been really good, and, they do a great job. And I really enjoyed, learning, more about some of our other drivers that, even I don't know, because, when you're in the pit area and you're racing, that's kind of, the only perception you have and maybe the only, chances you get to hang out with some of the drivers. So, get to kind of see their home lives and their family lives and kind of, what they're into outside of racing. So yeah, Dirt Season 2 is great. I think it's accomplishing everything that we all want it to accomplish. And obviously, hopefully the fans, really enjoy, that side of our sport and learning more about, who these drivers really are.
Yeah, obviously, you could watch all of those episodes on FloRacing. Now, Brad, I did want to mention this, something I saw on Twitter, I think it was either yesterday or the day before, a tweet from Jordan Bianchi. I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but basically he had an interview going with Dale Jr. talking about the Cars Tour And he mentioned in this that they have been watching and studying high limit racing and seeing how quickly high limit has kind of grown to, be right there in the public eye and has grown so quickly. And they're trying to, I guess, mimic that a little bit with the Cars Tour and see what, high limit's done and use that for their series. What's that kind of like for you to see, words like that from a guy like Dale Jr. who's trying to make his series a little bit bigger and better, right?
Yeah, obviously that's really cool. I have a lot of respect and, admire Dale Jr. Drove for him at one point and have been friendly along the way with Dale. And, I love his passion and enthusiasm for short track pavement racing, similar to, Kyle and I's, and all of ours, our passion for short track dirt racing, and I think he said a few things along the way that resonated with me, really well too, is, the business has just changed. And when you're, a lot of times we revert back to, the way it's always been done. And we forget now that streaming's involved and, there's just a lot more eyes on our sport, a lot more often. And so, creating a product that works really well for the at-track fan base, but also acknowledging there's, another 100,000 or whatever out there watching, and trying to keep them engaged night in and night out is really important. So, I think High Limit has done a great job in understanding that. Probably one of the first short track series that understands where this business is and where it's going to go and how important it is to have efficiency and consistent start times and consistent shows. So, that's cool. And honestly would love to, keep feeding off each other and, with Dale Jr. and his Cars Tour, obviously they're trying to grow that thing. We're trying to grow our thing. And honestly, we want all the fans to be fans of both. And that's, I think, what Flo's uniqueness and diversity brings to the table is you can have a Flo racing subscription and watch both. And, hopefully we're creating great products that fans enjoy across the board.
Brad, I want to just shift a little bit, and then I'm not saying we're going to stay totally away from your role with the series for the rest of the talk here, but I do want to talk competition here for just a moment. Lots and lots and lots of news around Casey Kane Racing going into 2025 and then even after 2025, started. But going into the year, it was announced you and Ty Wolfgang would be the pairing on that number 49. And I don't know what everybody else's thoughts were. I think those of us in the pit area were optimistic. Those of us who know Ty and know you know how good of a pairing it could be. And it's kind of come to fruition that you and Ty have not seemed to really, miss much of a beat, after seeing Eric step aside. So I just want to know what's it been like working with Ty because, Eric Pretzman, super seasoned veteran guy, behind the wrenches and in the pit area to Ty Wolfgang, a much younger guy, still a lot of experience for his age. But the biggest thing about those two that stands out, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here or, go a different direction with it, but I don't know if there's two more different temperaments in the pit area than Eric Pretzman and Ty Wolfgang. Eric, very laid back, very, soft spoken guy. Ty, not exactly the same. What's these first few weeks of the season been like working with Ty?
Yeah. I mean, I think, a lot can be said about just the program we have at KKR, that we can, promote within and they can have success right away. It's, you're not building something from scratch. Obviously my experience, comes into play a lot with how, I've always interacted with my crew chiefs and, been a part of the decision-making process night in and night out. And I think there's going to be points this season we definitely, miss Eric's expertise and, that just that extra little knowledge and that extra eye for things just, that you get over time. And me and Ty are going to have to go through that learning phase at times. We were able to fire off pretty good. That's obviously a good sign, that everything's kind of making sense to us. We're making the right decisions. We're making the right moves. And, I have, full confidence that Ty will bring, the most prepared car to the track and a great program to the track because he learned from Eric, who's one of the best that ever do that. And so, I think it's been a good start, and I think that we're, obviously there's a long season ahead of us, so you don't want to, get too confident or too comfortable. I mean, we're going to have, a lot of nights in front of us that, there's going to be lots of struggles and we know there's going to be some bad nights, but yeah, so far really happy. I like Ty's attitude. I like his, youthness and excitement, just wants to race as much as possible. And, I think when you're doing it for a long time, sometimes you do get a little burnout and, you want a break or you want this or that, but it's nice to have, a younger team that's excited to be at the track night in and night out for sure so far.
Well, now kind of circling back to the overall scope of High Limit so far this year, we've gone to a couple of new racetracks, started out at Vegas, and then the last 2 races were over there at Central Arizona Raceway. I kind of want to focus on those 2 because, it was a return to Las Vegas, right? That's a big deal on the NASCAR weekend, and the return for a National Wing Sprint Car Series in Arizona as well. And I would say when it comes to the fan aspect, the crowd aspect, I mean, you really couldn't ask for much better at those 2 races for our first 2 attempts of being there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Las Vegas is just, everybody is always looking for a reason to go to Las Vegas. And, when you bring the dirt track back to life and it's on, Cup weekend, obviously there's a lot of extra fans there. There was definitely a vibe and a hype around it and a lot of sprint car fans there, which was really awesome. I thought, unfortunately we lost the, first night to wind, rain, cold weather, and then Friday night we lost, the kind of makeup that we were going to try to make happen. But, all in all, I mean, it, we could go back next year and it could be 80 both days. So, it's just a bad little stretch of a couple days of weather that we caught. But the Saturday was great. The racing was great, besides, some rock issues that we're going to try to address. But yeah, I mean, I think it went really well. And then obviously we went up into California, and, California tracks are California tracks. Larry was rough and heavy, and obviously Kyle did a great job. And Paris was complete opposite. Kern was new to us, and it was a good race. There was quite a few issues with spinouts and some things that happened. But obviously then we went to Arizona, and that was a new track. But Jerry Petty and Brad Whitfield have really done a great job to revamp the facility, and the crowd came out and supported it. So yeah, those are, 3 new markets for High Limit. That was really important to get to: Southern California, Las Vegas, and Arizona. And I think, yeah, like you said, the crowds came out. We put on great races, great events, and we'll just keep learning and hopefully keep improving those events as we move forward.
All right, Brad, I'm gonna put you on the spot here, and I'm gonna ask the big question here that I think is on everyone's mind. I'm sitting in the High Limit Racing headquarters in the booming metropolis of Brownsburg, Indiana. I've got the Indianapolis Motor Speedway representation right behind me. This past weekend, USAC kicked off their Midwest season. They were at Putnamville on Friday night, and then Lawrenceburg on Saturday, and then Silver Crown was at Terre Haute yesterday. All had pretty good crowds, and people came up to me at some of those races and were like, "Hey, can you tell High Limit they need to be racing here at Terre Haute or here at Lincoln Park?" And I told those individuals they probably have an overestimation of how much pull I have within the High Limit Racing organization. But I mean, man, we're headquartered here. Nobody but me lives here. But it's the racing capital of the world. Chase lives one state over. I know we already have Kokomo and Lawrenceburg coming up in a busy month of May. But I'm not kidding. People were stopping me in the pits at the last couple of USAC nights and asking, "Hey, let's get High Limit to Terre Haute. Let's get High Limit back to Lincoln Park, where you guys ran the first ever High Limit race and ended the 23 season." What do we got to do to get some more High Limit races here in Indiana, Brad?
I think anytime you make a schedule, TLP and the fans, I think maybe underestimate some of the stuff, but like you just got to be really careful not to oversaturate markets. And when you're trying to have a national touring event come into your track or into your area, you want it to feel big and you want it to feel special, and you need the fans to come out. And so it's always a fine line in Indiana with how much dirt track racing does take place with USAC and things. And we want to make sure when we go to places that we get those, that atmosphere that we're striving to have and the big crowds. So, I wouldn't say that, that we will never race at any of those tracks, because we probably will, but we just are going to be very careful as we add them or when we add them, or, maybe it's something you do every couple of years. And, there's another national touring series that that kind of comes around Indiana a little bit too. So, you just kind of got to watch. We don't want to be, hurting each other and over diluting markets and things like that. So, right now I feel like we have a good thing going with both Kokomo and Lawrenceburg, and if the opportunity presents itself and we think we can do well, we certainly look at, the other half of the state or that southern kind of western Indiana area. And, I love all those tracks. I spent a lot of time in Indiana. But you need more than 2,000 fans to show up to have a high limit race and a successful high limit race. And that's what we got to kind of, obviously figure out if the demand's there and the fans will come, then we'd certainly love to have more races there.
I, for one, am an advocate for a doubleheader at Fairbury with High Limit and the Lucas Oil late models. That would be can't miss television there, but maybe in the future. But speaking of the schedule, Brad, coming up here soon, May is going to be extremely busy. I didn't count how many races there are exactly in May. I know there's like 30 days in the month, and maybe there's like 29 races or something. It's crazy. But are you looking forward to a really, really probably the busiest stretch of the season coming up here in a few weeks?
Yeah, I am. I think that's kind of what we try to do is with High Limit is, give some breaks where you need it. Maybe where guys could go home and regroup. And, I think that's what we did. And with this April stretch, you just never know with weather in April. But, hopefully when May 1st hits, we get a lot of good weather. We have a lot of great races. And, we have a lot of fun ahead of us. So it's going to be busy. And, I am excited to really just May, June, July, August. Those are the months where everything happens in sprint car racing. So 4 months, and the competition's stout right now across High Limit, across the World of Outlaws, everywhere. So we got some big events coming up, and just really looking forward to getting everything started at Texarkana and Texas Motor Speedway, and hopefully we can get that Napa Auto Parts car in Victory Lane a lot this year.
Yeah, we are looking forward to getting back underway in just a few weeks' time at Texarkana. That's going to be on the 30th, and then we get right into it in May. So, Brad, we appreciate you coming on here and answering a couple of questions and coming back to the show that you kind of started back in the day, High Limit Room. So thanks for jumping on here, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me on, and appreciate you guys carrying it all on.